So harvesting and processing, typically, they'll like the Chinese material typically says anytime between after the in fall, after the leaves have withered and turned yellow, until just before the emergence of the new shoots in spring. This would be the time to harvest. Cut off the above ground portion, dig out the root. Don't cut it in half when you're harvesting it, because you're gonna damage the quality of your material. This is very good Astragalus. Really long, really straight, not a lot of branches. And then lower quality. So going back to the other idea of when to harvest, the books will say anytime from fall to spring. So, and then if we look at some of the research that's come out, you'll find that the major kind of functional components are the isoflavonoids, the Astragalus isoflavonoids, and then the astragalosides, which are triterpene saponins. So these things, they both hit their peak in the 9th month. The isoflavonoids have a biphasic. They have 2 peaks. They have a peak in spring and a peak in fall. So you can see why there's some some discussion. If all we were interested in was the isoflavonoids, then you could just take it in fall or spring and you get those 2 peaks. But we're actually interested in some of all these constituents, and so it looks like it's better to harvest it in fall in the 9th month. And then if we go also with the total isoflavonoids, the total astragalosides, and the total polysaccharides, they're all higher here in the 9th month. Also, gamma amino butyric acid, everything is higher in the 9th month. So even if you read through the literature and it's saying any time between fall and spring, you should still harvest in the 9th month.
You're saying 9th month?
I mean September. I'm saying harvest in the 9th month of, yeah, and so the next slide that we'll get to is an analysis of year. And so I'm saying 9th month, because we look, and this previous slide is looking at 9th month in a bunch of different constituents. But now we're going to look at year by year. And so you can see that the isoflavonoids, they have a different spectrum where they actually possibly meet their peak in the 3rd year, or the 1st year, or the 3rd year. This is kind of misleading in a sense that it's not like isoflavonoid 1 to 5 are disappearing. As this thing is aging, isoflavonoid 1 through 5 are turning into something else, likely isoflavonoid 6 through 10. And so this is, in a way, misleading, because you're like, oh, the 4th year, terrible, I should have harvested in the 1st year. It's not isoflavonoid 1 through 5 anymore, it's something different. Let's just call it isoflavonoid 6 through 10. Astragalosides, the triterpene saponins, are still going up into the 4th year. So what they will recommend, actually, based upon what the authors of this paper recommend, is harvesting in the 3rd year, which seems to be some kind of compromise due to market demands. This is all a bunch of Chinese, for the Chinese literate in the audience. Essentially what it's saying is that, like, the Inner Mongolia, the Menggu Huang Qi, it's grown in Shanxi and Hebei and all these places, and Inner Mongolia, and when it's wildcrafted, it's harvested in the 6th through 8th year, and when it's cultivated, it's harvested in the 3rd through 5th year, and this is the way it was from the 50s to the 80s. Yeah, right. And so now, from the 80s to 2000, we see it's still wildcraft in the 6th or 8th year, but now some of it's cultivated, harvested in the 3rd year, and then we start seeing the membranaceus stuff, and this is getting harvested in the 3rd or 4th year, or the harvested in the 2nd year, and then we move forward to the next, and now we're kind of from 2000 to now, and we have things that are being harvested, like the wildcrafted stuff is still hanging out at 6 or 8, but the stuff cultivated in that region is succumbed to the pressure, and it's coming down to 3 to 2, and the stuff that's being cultivated in the kind of outrageously bad growing regions is now being harvested in the 2nd or even 1st year. This is the market and profiteering damaging the quality of the medicinal material and damaging its therapeutic capacities. And I think that's a shame. And so, I mean, I'd at least recommend growing this stuff for 3 years. And I mean, if you really want to talk about your high-quality Huang Qi, then leave it as long as you possibly can. Like maybe 6 years. That's the story of Huang Qi. We can look at some of these other fun things here. Similar to Cotinopsis, it has a number of particular like terms. The chrysanthemum center, the Juhuaxin, which is the radial lines which appear on the fractured surface. The loose skin, tight flesh, Pithong, Roji, loose cortex layer with the full woody portion. And then the golden cup and the silver plate, which is about the cortex is white and the woody portion is yellow. These are all things that we'd like to see in Astragalus material. In these pictures, you can see the chrysanthemum center, and that's about it. So the golden cup and silver plate is not really that well developed at this point. You can kind of see that this is more gold, this is more pale. That would be the golden cup and silver plate. And then the loose skin, tight flesh is going to be in a different picture at a different point. So the key features for the medicinal material of Huang Qi is that it's thick and long, it's yellowish white fractured surface, has a sweet bean-like taste, and it has a powdery nature, which you can kind of feel when you fracture it on the tips of your fingers. Zhen Shiyuan says that the highest quality is going to be long, thick root pieces that are pliable and tough, and they have these other features, the golden cup, the silver saucer. It's powdery and fibrous in nature, chrysanthemum center, it has a bean-like flavor. These are some of the cuts that you can see on the market, which you've seen passed around. And then we talk again about the particular specifications and rankings, which would be more in keeping with these types of materials. And we have the special high-quality Huang Qi, which is going to be 70 centimeters long or longer. That's going to be the highest class stuff, and it's going to have to be up to 2 centimeters long. I passed around, one of the Astragalus bags that I passed around is from Spring Wind, and it's organic, and it's described as grade 1, being that in that bag you can find a single piece of Astragalus which is wider than 1.5 centimeter thick. Anyway. So first class, second class, third class, macroscopic rankings.